Hello and welcome to my podcast Justice Tech Log, the podcast where we explore the intersection of technology, justice, and ethics. This podcast is part of the follow-up on the symposium Social Justice and Technological Futures. I'm Sonja, a student of literary and cultural theory at the University of Tübingen. Today, I'm talking with Fereshteh Forough, the CEO of Code2Inspire, an organization that empowers women in Afghanistan through technology education. She'll be sharing her insights as an educator and activist, giving us a glimpse into her work's impact. She was a speaker at the symposium Social Justice and Technological Futures and shared her impactful work with the audience. Really happy you made the time for me and you're here to talk with me again, because we briefly met in May, and I was so excited about your work and I wanted to talk to you about your work a little more. We can just start with you briefly introducing yourself, telling a little bit about you, about yourself, about your work with Code2Inspire.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me. And it's great to reconnect again after the symposium. My name is Fereshteh. I'm the founder and executive director of Code2Inspire, the first computer coding school for girls and women in Afghanistan. A personal story of me: I was born as a refugee in Iran. My parents fled the war early 80s, and then as a result, I was born in Iran and raised in Iran. I think definitely being born as a refugee, there's a lot of challenges and obstacles that you face. And I think one of the difficult challenge for me was to be able to go to school. As refugees, we had to provide certain papers in order to be able to participate in the school. But also, I think people tend to think that refugees are here to take opportunities from you, and they're kind of like an unwanted guest. So you're in a constant, let's say, battle of proving yourself that you are worthy to be in that community. And I think in such a young age, I learned how to be entrepreneur and use the resources, even if it's limited, in my favor. And that lessons I learned from my mom when she learned how to stitch and make dresses, and by selling them and bringing income to the family and invest in the girls' education in the family, we were able to finish high school in Iran. So we moved to Afghanistan actually in 2002, 1 year after the fall of Taliban, where I got my bachelor in computer science in RHET University. And I actually received a scholarship from DAAD Institutes, the German institute that support a lot of Afghan students. And then I attended the Technical University of Berlin, and I got my master's in computer science. I went back to Afghanistan and taught as a computer science professor for about 3 years in the university. And then I left Afghanistan in 2012, and I came to the US and I stayed there since then. So certainly I think my life as a refugee and the discriminations and the challenges I faced to access education, but also a woman studying computer science in such a male-dominated field of study, but also a very male-dominated conservative culture. And, you know, the backlashes, the pushbacks, the lack of resources, and inequality I faced really made me to think how I can change the narratives and the situation for women in tech in Afghanistan. So when I came to the US, I did some research, and I was thinking, what can I do to give back to my country, and especially the girls and women. Late 2014, I founded Code2Inspire, registered it in the US as a 501c3 nonprofit. And then at the time with my co-founder, we raised some funds, and we were able to open the first coding school for girls in Afghanistan, November 2015. So really, the mission or the vision for Code to Inspire is to empower Afghan women through education and technology. And we really want to tackle these patriarchal economic and cultural obstacles that I can say women in Afghanistan face by providing a very safe and inclusive environment, so that we can not only address those challenges, but also give an opportunity, equal opportunity for these girls and women to, flourish and, be financially independent and provide them a pathway for that. So Code to Inspire is a 1-year after school program. We have only one location in Herat. It's the city in west part of Afghanistan. And we offer different coding and graphic design classes. We've educated more than 550 girls so far and graduated about 350. And of course, with the data we had pre-Taliban, August 2021, 60% of our graduates found job in the community. And some of them are earning more than the average income monthly salary in Afghanistan, which is $150. And we've outsourced more than 50 projects worth of $60,000, where all the money went to the girls' pocket. But of course, with what happened in August 21 in Afghanistan, we had to close the school, and since then we've been doing all our classes online.
So social justice is really at the core of your work, I'd say, and you had to face a lot of borders. Can I ask you, what does social justice means to you personally?
Well, I think to me, social justice is, about every member of the society, regardless of their gender, race, religion, or any differences that they have, receive equal access to resources. They receive fair treatment, and also opportunity to actively participate in the community's well-being and have a voice, and their voice be heard. And I think that, to me, is social justice.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also feel like this technological environment has like a lot of opportunities for the girls in your school. Do you also see maybe some challenges or potential downsides in the tech industry for them?
Yes, of course. Well, I think with the technology, as you said, even though it does have a lot of empowering tools to empower, especially I think marginalized community, but also it does have challenges to it. For example, one thing would be the digital divide, right? When we look at, marginalized community, war-torn areas, conflict zone, and again, women, who oftentimes, girls and women, are being impacted by a lot of these political, religious, even climate, let's say, challenges. They're the upfront and the victim of it. That would create a lot of inequalities. For example, we talk about accessibility to internet and data, and how you can, be part of the global economy and global, or let's say, be a digital citizen, accessing that laptops, the requirements, the hardware that you can use, electricity. Not a lot of places have 24/7 electricity. For example, in Afghanistan, even right now, in Herat, the city that we do have the school, the electricity is just only sometimes 3 to 4 hours a day. So it means that really, like, being online and accessing the world virtually makes it so difficult. Even though, for example, in the school we installed solar powers, but that needs a lot of, let's say, you need to have access to, money, to be able to buy and purchase that, and not a lot of people have the means to do that. So I think the digital divide is one of the biggest challenges or the downsides of the technology. And if we don't address that, the gap and the digital divide would be even bigger. And then I guess like the outcome, one of the other outcome of this digital divide would be also like the wage gap. Like there's a lot of jobs within the virtual world that you can do in tech, but if you don't have enough representation of women in those jobs, then there would be a huge gap of the wages and the treatment of women in those jobs compared to, let's say, men who get the job. And that also leads, I think, to more gender and diversity disparities, right? So we don't have more diverse background people, different genders, and diverse group, and that makes it more like a one-sided community, that they have more power and they can decide on behalf of those marginalized people who you can't hear their voices because they don't have equal representation. And I think these are some of the challenges that I think you see within the tech sector or the technology itself growing rapidly.
How do you and your organization and your students, how do you cope with that challenges? And especially for you being in New York, not being with your students most of the time, how do you cope with this situation as well?
Well, I guess like when we talk about virtual classes, and virtual gathering compared to, let's say, the physical boundaries, right? And how you can be together. Even though, again, as I said, technology is so empowering because we've been using technology, the internet, laptop, educational tools in order to overcome the Taliban ban on girls' education, in order to be able to give education to these girls this past 2 years and help them to access equal resources, improve their their tech knowledge, and then help them to find path for job placements and hopefully earn income and help their families. But still, when there are electricity shortage, that's something that we can't really tackle, and that's a big obstacle for a lot of our students. But I also think that even though within that virtual setup that we are providing for our students, we try to make it as comfortable and as welcoming, the same as we used to have our in-person classes. But still, you see, the girls get a bit less motivated, to join the virtual world. And the emotional connections that we used to build within the in-person setup, the interaction, the conversation, the daily conversation, seeing your classmates is not here now. And I think that kind of like makes it a bit difficult to provide the same setup and feeling as you're in the in-person classes.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a huge difference. And I'm happy you found a way to keep the school kind of open, and I hope this will get better in the future. I mean, you're also an educator, of course, and that also means keeping up with all the advancement, with all the trends, and I mean, also enjoying your students to receive that up-to-date education, because we know that technology is quick in pace. How do you keep up with that?
Yes, well, I think in order to stay informed, and be on top of the trending topics and what really we would like to either explore, I check different tech outlets and reliable news that talk about trending technologies, and I check social media, follow different accounts for daily, let's say, news and updates. And also I subscribe to different newsletters, which again talks about trending topics, especially nowadays. I would say the AI would be a very interesting topic that I'm very interested to learn more about it and certainly see how we can incorporate it within the work that we do. And then I guess on top of it, networking, getting to know more people who are in the space, who either have done work in the same area that I'm doing, get to know them, learn about their experience, talk to them. And then, just, finding people who are experts and, kind of talk to them, having their advice and see what they think. And then also talking to my mentors, and the team who are on the ground, who are teaching our coding and graphic design classes, to see if they found any interesting tools or programs that they think might be helpful for us to add in our curriculum. Because, as you said, technology is such a fast pace, and we really want to make sure that what we are teaching to our students and providing hopefully help them to land a job, but also like be in the same pace as what's trending in the technology world.
Yeah, so that's a lot of different work for you.
Yes.
And you're not only an educator, but you're also a scientist. And at the symposium in May, we had like different people from different fields, activists, scientists, people from academia. How would you place yourself in these spheres? Do you see yourself as an activist with your work in feminist empowerment, or more like a scientist, more like an educator? How would you describe your position?
Yes, I think even though my work revolves around, advocating for gender equality, women empowerment in tech industry, but I don't think that I see myself really as an activist. I think I mainly identify myself more as an educator, technologist, or even an entrepreneur, because my focus is really, trying to use my creativity and problem solving skills, and the expertise I have in the area, and the personal experience that I faced myself, to really address those challenges within my community and empower women and the girls in Afghanistan in that sector. So I see, probably also, like, I can tell, I consider myself more as a community builder who try to bring people together around a certain mission and create a community around it, but also within that community mainly provide opportunities and especially uplift the marginalized community through the education and technology. But I would say that still a lot of my work, or part of my work also, like, still is more like an activist, and has that activism in it. Because, for example, when we advocate for gender equality, with Code to Inspire, we want to advocate for gender equality in tech industry, right? We are giving opportunities for the girls and women so that they can thrive, and they can be part of this ecosystem. And even through the work, I think part of the activism here is that we want to help the girls to be role models, right? To be role models in the tech industry, and be an example or inspiration for other girls and women, and encourage them to pursue, careers in tech. But also, we want to challenge, I think, the stereotypes. We want to break down the stereotypes and about women's capabilities in tech. They look at women down, and they think, oh, like, tech work is a man work, it's not women work, and how we can challenge that bias, and bring more inclusive, bring more women into that, and be more inclusive. So I think with that, I could say definitely activism is a strong part of our work, that help us to empower marginalized communities in Afghanistan.
Great thoughts. Also, maybe coming back to the symposium, what's your perspective on that academic section, on symposiums like the one in May? Maybe you attended some more. What is your impression of the academic field around technological advancements and social justice?
Yes, well, I really loved attending the symposium. It was such an eye-opening experience for me, because it was such a diverse group of people who came together from different sectors to address the technology, but the use of technology in a more ethical way, and how social justice or social injustice, is being involved in that sector. And when I listen to different presentations, different use case scenarios, it was so informative, but also see that this is not only a particular issue with Afghanistan. There are the same issues and different the challenges that other people around the world face, but in a different, in a different way. So I really enjoyed participating there, and I learned a lot about, different areas that I didn't really have a lot of knowledge. So I think organizing events like the symposium is so important, because you really encourage people to pursue advocacy through education. Even though I have an academic background and I'm an educator and technologist, but I think within the skill and knowledge that I gained, it helped me to be more, have a more kind of like a critical thinking, aspect of my work about the situation. And that knowledge actually made me to be more aware of the gender inequality in tech, and really helped me to see how I can be an advocate for that change within the tech sector in Afghanistan. But also, I think the social impact of the tech, and then also education, but also within the symposium when we talked about different use case scenarios that we talked, I think I learned a lot about how technology can be discriminative, and how it can create discrimination, even unconsciously, and how, it impacts community, and how we can, provide more of a technical education in a way that it would be not as biased as we think. And then, of course, the great part of it was just, a knowledge sharing. When I participated, I get to know a lot of amazing individuals, a lot of activists in that symposium, technologies, educator, human rights, and just learn about them, and really enjoyed seeing like-minded people who care about the same thing that I care. And I think that would help me to, kind of broaden my, vision of how I can, support my community in a better way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the atmosphere was really unique on that one.
Yes.
Maybe there's, I don't know, like an experience or a person that stuck with you. Is there anything that comes to your mind when you think about the symposium?
Honestly, all of them. I think I really enjoyed all the presentations, when they talked about. But I think the one that I really resonated was about this lady who, make her way through the tech industry and, land a big position within different tech companies. And because she was from the different background, and as a woman, how she got treated, but also how she had other women who supported her. It was really resonated to me, and I really enjoyed that talk.
Maybe we can touch again on your educational work in Code to Inspire, because with empowering women, it's not only teaching them about the tech industry, but also maybe teaching them about self-esteem, about confidence. Is that something that really influences your work a lot, also in your coding school? Or how do you address these issues?
Yes, absolutely. Well, definitely for me, one important part of establishing Code to Inspire was to create this welcoming environment for the girls and women to be themselves, to understand that their voice matters, and they can, participate, they can raise their hands, they can be creative, they can, criticize things. It's okay to be who they want to be. So that's really was the really the issue, and of course the heart of what I wanted to create Code to Inspire. for them to be just themselves, and by being yourself and by being acknowledged who you are, that helps a lot, that with our self-esteem, and it brings more confidence to you. But also, I think I wanted to create this sisterhood environment so that the girls and women would be able to support each other, right? And provide feedback on each other's work, encourage each other, do teamwork, and kind of like have this feeling that they all belong to this community, together, and uplift each other. But also encourage, I guess, leadership, that, each of them are leaders. Each of them have this leadership in them. It's just a matter of time how they can cultivate and find that and nurture that. And at Code to Inspire, we are here to help them to be a leader within their own, sector. We also added, of course, since the fall of Afghanistan, the mental health among the women has increased a lot, unfortunately. And that's what happened also within our students. And what we did, we added a lot of mindfulness workshop and, materials and classes, so that we help the girls to not, feel, let's say, hopeless and distracted, and at least give them some, guidance, and kind of like help them to find again that self-worth and, purpose and the self-esteem within them. And we also try to celebrate their achievements, right? So like when we have students who build apps, make games, or create digital arts, we want to support them, and we put their work in our social media. We give shout outs to them, and we help them even with small prizes, so that they understand that it's important for us, and we acknowledge that achievement of them, whether it's big or small, and we want to support them in this way as well.
Really, really interesting. Maybe you can dive a little deeper into how you try to support the girls also with their mental health, and what tools you maybe use for the things you just talked about, like being more connected, or having mindfulness and things like that.
Yes, well, we do have, actually, first we have a lot of internal group chat. So the purpose of this internal group chat is for the girls to be in the same virtual group, in case they want to share any opportunity, anything they feel that the other girls should know, beside, of course, the education, but also that feeling of connectivity. Even it's virtual, I think it's very important to still feel that there is a community that you belong to, and you're not left alone. So that's why we still try to, encourage our students to be in those group chats. We, and the mentors also upload, inspirational topics, interesting videos and articles, just so that we always have this momentum of engagement. But of course, in case of addressing the mental health in a bigger way, we've been talking with different people. We recently had this amazing life coach who was very generous with us to offer some of her time free, and we created a curriculum, addressing different topics of mindfulness. We had video call with at least 60 to 70 of our students. We created materials for them, some homework that they do and they report. And we wanted to make that space very private and safe for them, to be able to, share how they feel. And even, let's say, a few sessions after that, we took a survey and we just wanted to know how they felt. It's unbelievable and amazing to see that how those few sessions really changed their lives in case of mental well-being, and they were so happy about that. So as a result, we are thinking about the longer term, curriculum, videos, and perhaps platforms that we can support our students within the time that they are challenging with a lot of emotional distress, and support them as well. But also on the other side, there are oftentimes our students, either text me or a mentor and kind of like talk about if there is like an issue that they think we can help and support. And of course, we are here to help and support them as much as we can. And it's also very heartwarming to see that students call Code to Inspire as their home. Some of them actually call it as their first home. So it means that we were able to give that warmth and the trust of being at home to them so that they are able to share their inner feelings with us.
Yeah, really nice. Do you also work together with some mental health specialists, or is that maybe something you're thinking of in that field?
Yes, definitely, because we had such a good success in these life coaching sessions. I see how it really impacted the girls. We even have like some of our students messaged the mentors and said, is it okay if we can bring my sister, my mother, or a female family member to this class as well, because it really helps me. So I think this is so crucial now that we see the impact. And yes, we are thinking about to see how we can expand it. Either we can bring more therapists, but again, the language would be a bit of a barrier. So we'll think if we can find more, people who can either speak Farsi, or how we would be able to challenge or overcome the English barrier. But it's certainly something that we're thinking very serious about it and see in what capacity we can provide more support to our students and perhaps other girls in Afghanistan.
Yeah, amazing. That sounds like a good and interesting plan. Maybe to wrap up a little, what do you wish for the future? How do you see maybe the current state of international communication at the moment, and what improvements would you like to see?
Well, I guess for me, the important one is how I can, through my work, but the support of the international community, we can, narrow this digital divide and this gender gap within the tech sector. How international community is able to identify those barriers that are creating this digital divide, and how they can support millions of people who are, around the world and they lack access to internet, digital devices, and even joining the workforce digitally. So I think that's like a very important conversation, because the society is like relying a lot on technology, and the technology it's just growing so fast and rapidly, and in parallel, the people who are being deprived to access technology due, again, as I said, war, conflict, climate change, any other issues are decreasing, and they are increasing. And I think that's something to really come up with a plan and strategic planning to see how we can tackle that. And it's in parallel with the digital literacy, right? How we can promote digital literacy in a bigger scale, meaning do we have to include, some sort of educational curriculum within, the schools, as a part of the curriculum, daily curriculum, to learn about digital literacy from a younger age, so that it helps them to, be more, let's say, would be able to participate in an earlier age within the digital literacy and the digital world. Again, like that's another important thing, because education and digital literacy education is very important. Not a lot of people have access to that. And I think we should create space that would be very open to access to knowledge. Unfortunately, knowledge is not accessible, and the information is not accessible to people, again, in marginalized community. How we can democratize accessing to education, how we can give equal access to education to everyone, and what are the what are options out there, how we, with the international community, in educational institutes and other platforms, we can collaborate on a bigger scale to make the knowledge and information more accessible to people. And I think the ethical use of the tech, right, as we talked a lot in the symposium, how we can make sure and encourage ethical use of tech, especially with all this technological advancement, so that we can, prevent all the harms and, spreading the misinformation or, discriminations and anything that can happen by misuse of technology. We can tackle that as well.
Yes, absolutely. So trying to keep up with the emerging technologies and the building the ethical standards that are mostly or sometimes not really tackled. Okay, thank you so much, Fereshteh. Is there something you want to say at the end of our talk?
Well, thank you so much again for giving me the platform to give more information about our work in Afghanistan. And I would like the audience to learn more about our program. You can visit our website, code2inspire.org, and learn more about what we are doing. And as always, I say to people, don't look at the girls and women in Afghanistan or even at Code to Inspire in a way that feel bad about them. And say, poor girls, they're in this situation. But look at them as the individuals who are still thriving and fighting for their rights and standing for their rights and want to change the course of their future. And if you want to give a job to our students and graduates, either in coding or graphic design, look at it as a way that not only she will be empowered, and within that opportunity she can be a decision maker for her life, but also she will be an agent of change, and she will start to change within her household and family, and then the community and the next step the country. So look at that way, and hopefully there's a lot of opportunities out there and people who will believe in the girls in Afghanistan and support them.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, Justice Tech Log, where we explore the intersections of technology, justice, and ethics. This podcast is part of the follow-up on the symposium Social Justice and Technological Futures. The symposium took place in May 2023 at the University of Tübingen and was organized by the International Center for Ethics in the Sciences and Humanities, the RHET AI Center, and the Collaborative Research Center 923 Threatened Orders of the University of Tübingen, in cooperation with the WeNet project. If you want to find out more about the symposium, check out their website, uni-tübingen.de/socialjusttechfuture.